Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new episode of the Shuffle Pod. We are now on episode number 17. We're getting even closer to 20, and we got another special guest on today's episode. We got Mike Ellis. What's up?
I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I've been a big fan of all of the Pokemon content across the board, and finally got to my first event. So it's really excited to be involved in the Pokemon trading card game community now.
Yeah, if you don't already know, Mike actually helped to cast Warsaw Regionals, which was this past weekend. He worked with Limitless to actually cast that, and it was a pretty big success. So we definitely want to kind of get some insight on casting. I think Mike is like the first caster we've had. We've had Frosted Caribou and Mahone on, who have both casted tournaments before, but Mike actually does a lot more casting outside of just Pokemon. Like, he does a lot of casting. So I think it really adds to the kind of experience from learning a lot more from like a professional, like real caster. So I think that'll be really cool to kind of get some insight on everything and how the casting gig goes. I mean, I've done some casting in my time before. I know Lindsay has casted a little bit before too. So yeah, just a little bit. So it'll be
just a little bit, just a tiny little bit,
just a tiny bit. So it'll be nice to kind of get some insight and kind of dig deeper into that. But before we get into that, we got to do the weekly recap. We will start off here actually with Lindsay. How's your week been?
I don't even know what else to say other than you guys already know how my week has been. One, because it's the same that it always is, a regular work week for me. I am off tomorrow because as we are recording this, tomorrow is American Thanksgiving, so I'm celebrating that tomorrow by eating a lot of food and spending time with my loved ones. And what else? I got this really cool shirt from the Pokemon Center in today, so that's pretty cool. If you're just listening, it's a tie-dye shirt with, what is, I don't know if that's Galarian Farfetch'd, or is it just Farfetch'd?
Yeah, it's normal Farfetch'd, yeah.
Normal Farfetch'd. But it's a pretty cool shirt. But what about you, LDF? How was your week? And
my week,
wait,
yeah.
I guess we show off I don't know if you want to show them off all at the end or if we want to go through the weekly.
Well, I can show them off in the weekly. Because basically what
Okay.
I've been doing all week is just collecting stuff.
So since especially my work week is usually the same pretty much every single week, I don't really do anything else other than work. We decided to add a little something to the weekly updates. We're going to be showing off some like nerdy collection stuff that we got, right? So like LDF and I both love Funko Pops, so we decided to pick 3 of our favorite Funkos. So I'll start. This one is it's a deluxe Funko, whatever that means. But it's one of the bigger ones. Try to get the non-light glare. But this one is Alice with flowers. So she's got all of her little pansies next to her. I think that is so cute. I love Alice in Wonderland and thought that was cool. This one is kind of like my prized possession. But this one, for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. So we have Eddie Munson. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. If you haven't seen season 4, sorry for the spoilers, but I mean,
Yeah,
you should all have
spoiler
seen season
alert.
4 by now. It's like
If
the
you
biggest
haven't,
thing.
what are you doing? But come on.
It's like the biggest thing of the year so far with Stranger Things season 4.
And then my third favorite, I have to say, is my Diamond
Oh, look at that.
2021 Fall Collection Eevee Funko. So those are my 3 favorite Funko Pops.
I actually want to ask, how much was the Eddie and the Eevee one? I'm actually curious on that
We don't need to talk about that. Part.
But we don't need to talk about
Too
the
much. Well, the Eevee actually got a steal on Macari. I think I paid like $30 for it, and it's worth a lot
more than that. Yeah.
The Eddie one, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, that one I would imagine was hard to get for a good deal. Yeah,
Well,
Eddie's like the most popular Stranger Things character from season 4, so I'm imagining his Funko was pretty hard to find. Yeah.
What about your Funkos, LDF?
Yeah,
I
so
wanna see
my week's been pretty boring too. The one thing I have been doing this week is collecting Funko Pops, and I wanted to show off my 3 favorite Funkos. My 3 favorite, I guess honestly, they're all 3 of them are kind of grails because they're all expensive. They're hard to find. The first one I want to show off was actually Ralph Wiggum here.
Look at that.
This one is one of my favorites. I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and I had to get the Ralph Wiggum Funko. This is easily my favorite Funko that I have that has a sticker on it. It's just a really cool Funko. Ralph Wiggum is like the funniest character in The Simpsons. He's got like some very quotable quotes. And I had to pick up his Funko Pop. And I got that last week. This one is one of my favorite ones I got. My other one that I got here, I actually picked this up earlier this week. And rest in peace. We got Takeoff from the Migos. Rest in peace to Takeoff, which is
Rest in peace.
I had to pick up the Migos set. Takeoff is obviously the most expensive hardest one to find. And actually, me and my friend were at a Funko store the day before he passed away, and we saw the Migos set in the store, and they were $30 each. And then, literally not even 24 hours later, he died. And then, like, it was like, no, you couldn't find this anywhere. So I regret not getting it earlier, but I had to pick it up. I'm a huge fan of Migos. They're like, they kind of changed my life, to be honest. They're like my favorite rappers potentially of all time. So I had to get the Takeoff Funko, who's also my favorite member of the Migos. So I had to pick up his Funko Pop. And then finally, I think my most expensive, rare Grail Funko I got here is actually my Winter Soldier Funko Pop. This one I've had for a few years now, but this one is really rare and expensive. Obviously, it's from 2014.
No, there's a massive dent in it.
It's worthless.
And now it's worth nothing.
And now it's worth nothing. All right, moving on.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I had to get this one. A huge fan of the Winter Soldier movie, like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, one of my favorite MCU movies. So I had to get the Winter Soldier Funko because it's like the best one to pick up in the set. So I got this one a couple years ago, and it's only really like appreciated. So I'm just glad I have it. It's one of my favorite ones. But these are my 3 favorite Funkos I have. I have way more Funko Pops, and I'm sure in each like maybe podcast episode I'll do like a weekly recap of which ones I bought and which ones are my favorite. I have a lot of
our newest Funkos.
Exactly, yeah. Because I have a huge Walking Dead Funko collection. I have a big Marvel collection. Like I just have a lot of Funko Pops. It's actually kind of insane.
I mean, we're all a bit like that with Pokemon cards as well, aren't we?
Oh,
It's collectibles. You get in your head, you're like, well, you know, they'll have value in the future, so it's not like I'm losing out. I can sell them at some point.
I know. I have a huge Pokemon card collection here too, which I guess maybe one day we'll recap. I need to get them graded.
Oh yeah, we gotta do some. Yeah, we definitely have to do that for a future episode.
Yeah,
but don't worry, guys.
Yeah,
we did not leave Mike out of the loop, right? So we told him to show off something too. So he's gotten. This is you're watching a blind reaction here because neither LDF or I have seen it.
Yeah, we don't even know.
I don't collect Funkos. I've actually been thinking about getting some because I have a set that I'm using at the moment for in-person podcast I'm doing in my flat. And I've got all of these things on the display, and I feel like a Funko is perfect for it. But then I haven't got one yet. So here's something that's on my display, and you'll understand why. So I live in London. I was quite close to Worlds when Worlds happened. So I went along to the store on the Sunday. Unfortunately, all the good stuff was sold at that point. So the only thing that was left was all the little mini plushies. And so I had to find my favorite Pokemon that was in the plushie. I also got my flatmate's favorite Pokemon as well, which was Turtwig. But for me, my favorite Pokemon is Metagross.
Oh,
and you got one of those. We got the same ones. So that's why we got the same little plushie.
That is actually sick.
Oh my god, this is the ultimate crossover episode.
It actually, I was not expecting Metagross.
There we go. So we got the same little Metagross plushie. I saw it in the background of one of your videos recently, and I was like, I'm going to have to show that. So
that's perfect.
Sick. I wasn't expecting Metagross. I got that at NAIC at the Pokemon Center pop-up shop they had. And the reason I use it kind of now, because I used to have like Pokeballs on my like ETB stack. The reason I use it is because Quad Metagross is one of my favorite decks I've ever made, and I had to get a Metagross plushie. Metagross has just like slowly become one of my favorite Pokemon too. So I'm like, I gotta get a Metagross plushie. Like I think Metagross is like kind of defined my 2022. If I had to pick a Pokemon that defined my 2022, it would definitely be Metagross. So I was like, all right, we gotta get a Metagross plushie.
Mine would be Beheeyem.
You know that whole thing, everyone's got a favorite Pokemon, or every Pokemon's someone's favorite Pokemon.
Yep.
I feel like that sums it up there. Beheeyem. I didn't know how to pronounce it for the longest time. Whenever I see it, I'm like, well, it's the alien looking thing.
We didn't either.
No.
Until it was a Pokemon. I guess that Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh man, that was funny. Yeah, that was a Frosted Caribou episode, I think.
Yeah.
Do I also do the recap of my week? Is that?
Yes.
Go
please
ahead.
do.
Yeah,
How was your week?
I'm sure you've had an interesting one.
Well, so I'm about to go away a lot. So in December, the first 17 days of December, I'm not at home. It starts off with Stuttgart, which is the Pokemon event. Then I'm going to Rotterdam for a Rocket League major. And then I'm going out to Vegas for the Esports Awards.
Ooh.
So
Vegas is sick. Vegas is sick. I want to go there
I'm
one
just
day.
jumping from place to place the whole time. So because of that, I've got a podcast that releases weekly. I do 5 YouTube videos a week on my Rocket League channel. So I'm just making so much content right now. And I've been having amazing guests over for my podcast recording. I had one today, one yesterday, one day before that. I've been just pumping out Rocket League content. So...
And you're here now.
Yeah, that's my week right now. And I just love podcasts, which is why I really wanted to come on this. So
so you have your own podcast.
Yeah, it literally just started. So it's called Beyond the Game, and the aim is to make the biggest podcast in gaming in the world. that's a long way off, but the way I want it to start is I want to tell the story of people who gaming has been a part of their life. So it's not just people who work in gaming, not just people from Rocket League, which is where I'm most known from, but people across all of gaming. And it could even be people who do their own thing, but then have gaming be a part of their life. So, for example, I know it's not the kind of guest I'm going to get, but like someone like Ed Sheeran, you know, recently has been doing collaborations with Pokemon. That kind of person, where it's someone who's successful in music or in acting or sport, where gaming is a big part of their life. Get them on, talk about gaming, talk about growing up with gaming and how gaming has influenced their life, and then also talk about all sorts of deep topics like mental health, the challenges of being part of minority groups, the challenges of being in the public eye, and all of these different factors. So that's the aim of the podcast, and it's just started, and it's in my living room. I built a set and everything. This Metagross is on that set. The little sits behind me, behind me when I'm hosting it. So yeah, that's I just love podcast form content where you get to have chats with people.
That's really interesting.
First off, I love that. Love all of that. That's so cool. That's definitely some stuff that we can get into later as well. We have lots of questions for you. Get some information, learn a little bit more about you. But before we dive into that, you guys know what time it is. It's commercial time. So as always, this podcast is brought to you by Atlas Collectibles. So you can go to their site, atlascollectibles.com, use code TSS12, save yourself 12% on Pokemon cards. They got singles, they got bulk, they got it all. If you want those online codes, if you're not feeling Pokemon Live just quite yet, you want to still be playing those PTCGO codes. If you go to PTCGOstore.com, you can use TSS5 to save yourself 5% on the order. Again, both of those really help us out. So if you are wanting to ask the pod, you can send either a question for the chance of them of being answered. You can send us suggestions, topic ideas you'd like to hear, and even recommend guests that you'd like to see. Send that over to podcast@theshufflesquad.com, and we'll be sure to look into it. I think we're about ready to guess the Pokemon.
Yeah, so I've chosen the Pokemon today. I think I have a card right here of the Pokemon's name on it. Let me just make sure I know what I'm talking about here. Let me take a look here at this Pokemon.
Oh, he's teasing.
You know I'm all ready for it. Yeah, okay. We got a 7-letter Pokemon from generation numero 3.
Oh, I was trying to look at the reflection of your glasses there and see if I could get any clues. But... So generation 3, 7 letters.
Gen 3.
7 letters, yeah.
What starters is that? That's not Torchic, is it?
Yeah,
Torchic?
That is that generation, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? Torchic?
Is Torchic 7?
That's 7, yeah.
Torc. Yeah, you're right. It is 7. Okay. Do you want you guessing Torchic, Lindsay?
I'll guess Torchic. I'll guess that.
Not Torchic.
I don't know why it's the first thing that came to my head, but Grumpig.
Grumpig. Okay. GRU. Unfortunately, it's not Grumpig. Okay, if I had to count, it wasn't Grumpig.
Yeah, if you have to count, you know it's not the answer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, it's not Grumpig. All right, so hint number 2. The second hint of this is this Pokemon is it's a Steel type Pokemon. Metal type Pokemon from Gen 3 with 7 letters.
I feel like there's not many Steel types from Gen 3.
Well, you got to consider Steven, the champion in Ruby and Sapphire, he uses Steel types. But do any of them start with 7 letters?
Trying to think, what are our Steel types here?
I've thought
Gen
of a
3.
few. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to give any clues away.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the Pokemon right now.
Is it Jirachi?
It is Jirachi.
Oh!
No way!
There you go.
Is this my record?
I think it is. I think it is.
Oh my gosh!
It is.
I forgot about Jirachi.
It's Jirachi. It's perfect.
I don't know how I got.
That's crazy. I was thinking with Aggron, right? Aggron's 6 letters. Dang, I was thinking Aggron, like
Mawile.
Someone's gonna say Mawile.
I guess you could say because like Lairon 6, Aaron's too short.
Yeah.
The Beldam, Metang, Metagross line are all too.
Yeah, so I guess Jirachi's is kind of the best answer.
Well, it's I never really think of Jirachi as a Steel Pokemon necessarily. I don't know why. I always think of it as like fairy, just because it's all like make a wish.
Yeah.
But I was actually thinking about. Whenever you said that, I was actually redoing one of my emotes, and one of my emotes is Jirachi, and like zooms up on the face, and it says "why."
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was like thinking of Jirachi, and then it made me think of the Radiant Jirachi card. I'm like, wait, well that's a Steel type. JIR.
Mm-hmm.
So
Fair play.
Yep. Actually, the reason I chose Jirachi was because I unfortunately had to de-sleeve my Reggie deck. Reggie is just no longer. I can't play it. I went to a tourney like a couple this past weekend, and the deck just got bodied. Like I hit Ice Cube, I got Collapse Stadium out of the game. I was like, nah, I can't do it. So unfortunately, I had to de-sleeve Reggie, my pet deck, and actually sleeved up Zorobox instead. And of course, the first thing I put in was a Jirachi. That's why I chose Jirachi, because
that is bold to
toxic.
To go from Reggie's to Zoroark. That is very bold.
Yeah. I want to do Lugia, but like it's just like it's like playing Arceus. You know, I'm just like, do I really want to play the more like simple deck? I like playing the wacky stuff. That's why I go Reggie all the time, because Reggie I just like a lot more than like a simple deck like Arceus, VMAX, V Star, or Palkia. You know, so
yeah. I get you. I really want to try the Zoroark deck. I just noticed how much it bricked, and I really hate first turn going badly. So I've been playing a really consistent Inteleon Palkia Inteleon deck, just because I feel like that first turn is so good with it that you can just out consistency people.
Yep.
But then the problem you've got with it is it just doesn't quite hit the numbers that you need anymore. And you have to kind of weave clever ways with Greninja in and using the shady deal, not shady dealings. Well, can use shady dealings in Inteleon, but the quick shooting Inteleon to start getting the numbers. So it's quite a good thinking deck. Like whenever you're playing it, you're like, oh, there is always a way to try and find it. You just got to draw into enough of the cards you need, and then find the rest with shady dealing.
Yeah, Palkia requires a lot of thinking ahead, planning ahead, and a lot of thought goes into each and every turn, because there's so many things you can do when you like play Irida and Shady Dealings. You got Greninja for 2, so yeah, it can be a very thought-provoking deck.
I do miss Palkia a little bit. I do miss it a lot. That was the deck that I was basically maining for the last however long before I just stopped.
Right.
But it's actually been one of the only decks that I play or have played a lot where I really like the mirror, because I'm actually good at it.
Yeah.
I hated the Jolteon mirror. The Jolteon mirror was a nightmare. Arceus mirrors are also a nightmare.
I hate Arceus mirrors. Arcantel mirrors are the thing of nightmares.
Arcantel mirror is terrible.
Yeah, that's why I like playing like weird stuff sometimes, because you don't really run into mirror matches. Reggie mirror is also extremely toxic. I've played too many Reggie mirrors in my time. I hate it. It's like whoever gets the first knockout, it doesn't always usually mean they win, but it's like that mirror is just not. It ain't it, Chief.
It goes on for so long as well. Every single game.
It really does.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the Palkia and Inteleon deck does lose out a little bit now just from the crossfire of Lugia, but I still feel if you play it well, it will win a lot of matchups. But what you were saying about the unusual decks, one of my favorite weeks, I went down to my local. I took Salazzle Butterfree down.
Oh yeah,
and everyone got so tilted. I managed to dodge and weave past all the Mews, because that was when it was the Fusion Energy Mew.
Oh yeah,
so you couldn't really beat it. But then I just dodged and weaved all of those and just annoyed so many people with because a lot of people were just reading the card like, I don't know what this thing does, and yeah, it's good
catch
fun.
by surprise. Yeah.
Poke Word, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at PokeXWord.com, and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Well, everybody, I think it is time we draw the winner of the giveaway here. Drumroll, please. The winner is Cool Trainer Pat.
So you, Cool Trainer Pat, are the giveaway winner. So congratulations. What you can do is contact us at podcast@theshufflesquad.com to redeem your prize.
We'll see you there. Congratulations. And thank you for everybody who participated in the giveaway. We'll probably do some more as we kind of inch towards 1,000 subscribers and all that good stuff. So, obviously, with that all out of the way, I think we should actually talk about Mike and his casting career. So we want to talk about your casting gig and all kinds of things with casting. Again, me and Lindsay have done some casting before. We don't have the experience though that probably you have, I would say. So kind of run us through. So what actually got you into casting?
So I did a lot of public speaking when I was 16, 17 onwards, and did some YouTube content, got really into entertaining in that way. And then when Rocket League came out, I was at a Rocket League event where it was kind of just a general gaming event. There was a Rocket League event going on there, and I went along and guest casted in that because I played so much Rocket League, and my friends were like, you can come on and be the smart guy. And then from that point on, I just did as much community casting as possible. I used to cast like 5-6 evenings a week, just any event that was on. Wow. I would cast it. I would host it as well because I had good enough internet. I had the ability to run the stream as well. So I remember just doing as many things as possible to get as good as possible. And then as Rocket League started to grow, the opportunities started to come about, and it's very hard for Europeans to get events when it's a North American production team, because they have the studio in North America, they have the production team over there. And so for the longest time, I wasn't able to do that. So I went to coaching for a little bit and coached a few Rocket League teams, Vitality being the one that was most successful. And since then, coached a few other teams, but then about a year ago, I wanted to come back and give casting a good go again, and I went on to RLCS, which is the main Rocket League event. It's the biggest one, the one with the most viewers, the best teams and everything, and used to sit on the desk for that. So I'd be the main analyst who would analyze the game, and did that for about a year. And then unfortunately there was some budget cuts, and so they cut some of the talent, and I lost out on the ability to carry on doing that, which is now why I'm getting involved in Pokemon a bit more. I wanted to do Pokemon trading card game casting the moment I went full-time with casting. It wasn't just I lost my job in Rocket League, I guess I'll do Pokemon. It was just it happened to line up that as I lost my job in the Rocket League team, I'm now able to go to more events, and Connor from Limitless reached out to him at around the same sort of time, and now I'm going to as many events as possible. So I just did Warsaw. That was really good fun, and I'm going to be going to Stuttgart too, and hopefully, who knows where it will go in the future, but hopefully get involved with the Pokemon company and start doing the bigger events and start traveling all around the world. And it would be an amazing opportunity to be the voice of Pokemon trading card game at some point.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome, because we know that, like, there's been a lot of casters before. We've got, Trainer Chip. He was a big one that a lot of people wanted to be a caster for a long time. Obviously, Omnipoke and Ross are both kind of, I think, the two, like, biggest UK casters that do work for Pokemon. And then, of course, you have, like, Andrew Mahone, Frosted Caribou, both started casting with them, too. And actually, Tablemon is apparently going to be helping to cast LAIC. Well, the time recording this, it hasn't happened yet, but Tablemon announced he's actually going to be working with Pokemon to cast LAIC. So Pokemon are really reaching out to a lot of the content creators, I think, to help cast. So, I mean, honestly, all three of us, I think it would be a dream if all of us were able to cast one day at a Pokemon tournament. That's my dream. That is one of my long-term goals, would be to definitely help cast a Pokemon tournament. I've done quite a few casting gigs before. I've casted the GG Tour tournaments alongside people like Azul. I casted with Pedro Torres, who got second at Warsaw. I've casted with Lindsay before at the Shovel Squad Tournament of Champions, casted with Hegster, casted with Zach Lesage. I've done a lot of casting in my time, and I do want to try to build up a resume, which I think Pokemon probably want to look at when they're looking at people who choose for casting. They want that resume, and I think the fact that you helped with Limitless, and Limitless did really well on Twitch. They were doing almost as well as, like, Pokemon usually does, and I think
their production's incredible. Like, genuinely, I was so impressed, because it's a small team,
right,
but the quality of their production is at the same level as some of the big 30-plus people production companies I've worked with.
That's what I was going to say, is that it was very, very good to watch. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
It was also, they put a lot of trust in the casters to try and come in and give them an opportunity. And before I came in, I explained my experience as a caster and everything. They had no idea whether I'd be able to commentate Pokemon, but they're willing to take those chances and see who's about, to give them opportunities. And when they put me on the stage, they had no idea whether I'd know anything about Pokemon. And so in the first game, they were just there like, let's hope he knows the game. Let's hope he knows the game. Because I claimed I did, but anyone could claim they had and done it. The only thing I lack is player knowledge, because you just can't learn players and history by coming in at a later stage.
Yeah.
So it's just going to take a bit of time to learn who's who and who's done what. But honestly, having Alex Dow, who's the main guy I got to chat with about players and stuff, he's been there for 5+ years. He knows everyone. And Barish, who's from VGC, he was there casting. He's a really good caster. So it does help that there's so many amazing people in the community who are doing events. And I think at some point in the future, I will cast with Joe, with Wassy, with Shay. There's so many people who I'm excited to cast with. Like you just listed loads of people too. There's loads of amazing people in this community.
Yeah, I think really Pokemon definitely had their eyes on that Limitless broadcast. And Limitless have been really, really good at just kind of elevating the Pokemon trading card game to another level. I mean, we had their website before the pandemic was one of the most important websites within the game. Then, of course, the pandemic happened, and they hosted their own qualifier tournaments, which were humongous hits. I think the first one was kind of the first one they did, like the first attempt they had at the qualifiers was actually a flop. It didn't end too well, but they ended up fixing that. And each and every qualifier was a huge hit. It did better than most online tournaments on Limitless's website. And then, of course, they created the Play.Limitless website, which is now one of the most important parts about the online card game. Is now there's a website where you can play tournaments on every single day, and it changes the entire meta and everything, which is insane. And Limitless doing something like this, like hosting Warsaw and doing a really good job with production quality and stuff, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you could say about Limitless that's positive. I think the fact that they see a problem and then try and find a solution, I think it's so impressive. Like, the fact they were running tournaments on other websites that didn't quite do what they wanted, and they went, should we just make our own one? I think it's amazing. And the use of tournament results and deck lists and everything like that is something I was using back as just a casual player in 2019, just because I wanted to see what the current decks were, get some ideas. So having it as a resource for new players who are coming in and learning is so key.
Oh, it's great. It's so great. And then I think we've talked about this before at some point, but when you're wanting to practice and play and like really the only thing you have is PTCGO, and the ladder can be, we all know how the ladder can be sometimes. Like right now we're kind of in this weird like transition period into Pokemon Live, and like we don't really have like the ranked ladder like 100% yet. Limitless is really great because, like you said, they have these huge online tournaments every single day. They even have the smaller ones, and that type of practice is so much more useful, in my opinion.
It is.
So it creates the meta as well, right? We're in a weird stage of Pokemon where the big events aren't where the spicy decks come out. It's the online events where people bring the spice and then people learn from it.
I mean, literally in this like past week, we've seen like Rayquaza Lost Box win tournament, Zorobox won a tournament, I think, and Arcanine V won a tournament. And it's just like you don't see that on the ladder. Like the ladder is usually just like YouTuber decks. I find like if I make a video on a deck or Mahone does, it's usually all over the ladder, and then you don't really get that experience because me and Mahone will post like a funny meme deck, and it'll be all over the ladder for like a week or two. But with the online competitive scene, you actually get like a good competitive, realistic approach. A lot of the big players play up Limitless all the time. I know like Azul streams it all the time in a tournament. Grant Manley streams a lot. Tord sometimes plays in tournaments. Shintaro, the greatest like player in Japan, he plays in online tourneys all the time. He's always playing the late night, and like it's just a huge kind of global. Like, it's a global economy, basically, where, it just allows for players around the world to play against each other at a competitive setting, which you don't get on TCGO at all.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It's fun. How long have you been playing Pokemon the trading card game, Mike? I'm curious.
So I've always, when I was younger, I collected cards, classic story. And then when around Black and White, I bought a load of codes to play online, and I sort of just played for fun, basically free to play with 100 codes to start off with, and just enjoyed the game then. And then I didn't really play at all, but I used to watch openings all the time and want to play it all the time. And then eventually I got a bonus through work for doing, it was just after my Rocket League team won the World Championship, we got a bonus. And I was like, well, I've always wanted to collect Pokemon cards. So I bought a booster box of Unbroken Bonds. I actually have a master collection of Unbroken Bonds because it was my first set that I got into.
Nice.
-5 reverse hollows, but it is what it is. And then I started collecting and playing then. Went straight in with the Mewtwo, and Mew was my favourite deck. I played all the local challenges and cups, and I think I was pretty good considering how new I was to the game. Because whenever I get into a hobby from my esports gaming background, I obsess over it, and I would play like 6-7 hours of PTCGO a day, just grinding out and just trying to understand the deck inside out. And then from there, went into lockdown, played a little bit at the beginning of lockdown through Rebel Clash, and then just took a break like a lot of people. Did a little bit of collecting, did a little bit of playing here and there, but ultimately came back strong when I moved down to London, looked to see where my local was, and I just happened to be by one of the best locals in the country. So it's a local called Rule Zero, and it's one of the fastest growing local communities on Limitless. We have 40 plus people regularly on our weeklies.
Nice.
We got a winner box this weekend, which I don't actually know how many people are going to turn up, but we've been having talks about going up to a stage where we can start streaming it from, there's so much potential when you got a big growing community like that. And we have each set, we do a weekly tournament that leads up to a top 8 at the end. And then, it's such an amazing community, and there's so many good players. I think at Warsaw, there was about 20 to 30 of them from our community who all traveled together. So yeah, we've got an amazing local community, and that's what got me back into it again recently. And I'll be there tomorrow. Don't tell them I'm playing Parker and Teleon. Don't tell them.
Keep it on the down low.
And so yeah, that's the main reason why I'm back into it so much.
I'm actually curious. Do you have any like other big names in the community that go to the your locals at all?
So recently, one of our locals has been doing quite well. A guy called Kai. He's been getting some top 8s and sort of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but for a lot of people I met at Warsaw, they're like, oh, Kai's come out of nowhere. And I think there's some people in the past who've done quite well, but for the most part, people are just there or thereabouts. We haven't got any of the really big names.
Right.
But yeah, Kai is definitely one to watch.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've always thought about that idea. Like your locals, what big players go to it? Actually, Lindsay, I guess I'll ask you. Do you have any like big name players that go to your locals at all, apart from yourself?
No, it's funny because they all knew me like when I first started, and like if any of them are listening right now, they're gonna be cracking up because like I would show up with like I didn't know what I was doing, right? I had no idea what I was doing. So like they knew me through all that. So like now they mess with me like, oh my God, are you Lindsay from the Shuffle Squad? Like, oh my God, it's Lindsay from the Shuffle Squad. And so they all kind of like mess with me a little bit. But I'd say, I guess Mike Morton is one of the bigger ones. And he's top 8 a lot of regionals, I think. Retired Pokemon player Mike Morton, who still goes to events. If you're listening, Mike, I love you. Who else? I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I feel like I'm missing some, and then I'm gonna get like roasted for it.
Yeah.
That's really all who like currently plays, I guess, who's like more of a big name. But
my locals is very sweaty. We got some of the best players in the greater Toronto area, the GTA, what we call it, that actually go here. The number 1 ranked senior division player, Benny Billinger, goes to our locals every week. And yeah, he's like top 8'd Worlds. I think he top 8'd Baltimore, Salt Lake. Like he's literally like ranked number 1 in the seniors division. He goes to our locals. A lot of really good players. My friend Anil, my friend Sashi, my friend Evan, my friend Dan, they all are like some of the best players who have qualified for Worlds multiple times over. My friend Vince, my friend Jerry, like a lot of big players actually like in the Canadian community do go here at my local. So it tends to be a little bit more on the sweaty side. I think even we have like one of the best like junior division players there too, Remy. So it's like, it can get really sweaty sometimes. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of new players that come in all the time, but it can tend to get a little sweaty.
Yeah, ours is pretty sweaty too. There's, like I said, there's quite a few people who regularly attend regionals. We have a group of about 20 people who go to every regional in Europe. So, they do try pretty hard. And there's quite a lot of people in our community that have a great collection where they have all the competitive cards and they have like 10, 20 plus of all the trainer cards. So if you ever need anything, they'll just be like, hey, I've got it for you. So it definitely encourages other people to get better decks. And so, but yeah, I was just looking up Kai's results recently. And when I said he's sort of come out of nowhere, in 2022, he's got all of his results. So he was 6th in Bilbao, 2nd in Bremen, 13th in Lille, and 10th in the next Bilbao that happened. So, in the space of not very many, that's just September and May, last season, he's already got a load of top results, 2 top 8s and 2 bubbles. So yeah, definitely one to watch.
Yeah, that's really solid. That's pretty good. Yeah, definitely like making a name for itself. That's one thing is like when coming out of the pandemic, there was a lot of people from kind of the online scene or that maybe were bubbling under before who actually have now become like huge staples in the community in terms of like big name players. So definitely something, I think, like another case of that happening over there with Kai.
Yeah. Kai Wainwright. Look out for that name, everybody.
So another question I wanted to ask. So yeah, like you said, you run your own podcast now. Is there anything else you want to maybe talk about your podcast at all that you didn't discuss earlier?
Yeah, so it's been a long time in the coming. It's been since beginning of the year. Basically, I wanted to do a podcast for a while, but I didn't know what I wanted to do it on, what style, whether I wanted to have regular guests or whether I wanted to have new guests every time,
right?
Whether I wanted to do it online and in person, and I finally landed on in person with a set. And I want to have the quality of guests over the quantity of podcasts. So I really want to get the best guests possible, the variety and all that kind of thing. And it's called Beyond the Game. The idea being that we get to know people beyond the game, so their life around the game that they play or the game that they compete in or whatever. And then the idea came about because I used to stream, and I'd be streaming Rocket League and get so frustrated because I want to have these conversations, but you can't have those deep conversations with Twitch chat that easily because there's a lot of people who don't understand, who come in and say the most stupid things.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just, and it would be like, you know, to sound a bit stereotypical, I'm a fairly privileged white guy, and me talking about, you know, problems in parts of the world that I don't really know that well, talking about, you know, women in gaming and things like that. I'm talking from the point of view of someone it's not affecting that much. I have a lot of empathy for those people, but it doesn't come across as well as if I have one of those people who's experiencing that come on and have that conversation.
Yeah,
so
giving them a platform to speak.
Exactly, and giving them direction and asking the questions, and also potentially asking some tougher questions, because it's not always about just letting them tell their sob story. You want to hear them tell the experiences and start challenging their views and things like that. So that's why I wanted to create it, because I wanted to create an environment where we would have high level intellectual conversations with people from gaming. And you know, I've just had, so today I had a guest, and he was talking about his mental health, but he was talking about his panic attack disorder, and we we're talking about, you know, how he now works on camera despite having what would be quite a debilitating mental illness when he couldn't control it, and talk about the journey he had through going to see a doctor and everything like that. And there could be someone listening who might be going through something similar. And for me, that's what I've always aimed to do by going into this space, is to do the most good to the most people. And I feel like this podcast is going to be that opportunity to have that positive effect on the world. So yeah, that was the reason why I wanted to start it. And then I've been building it up for a while. I had to move flats to be able to have a flat big enough to build the set in.
Right, yeah, you have a set.
I've got my flatmate as my tech guy. I've got my friend editing, and I'm paying everyone. And like, the intention is to invest a load of the money that I've made through esports into this project in the first year, and then hopefully it starts making money. And yeah, so it's a massive project that I really hope in like 3 years' time, you know, you could be able to say, oh, I remember when he first started speaking about that and had this big aspiration. And then yeah, it just takes a while to get things rolling.
I absolutely love all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And like we definitely agree that those types of hard conversations are important. I think in one of our first episodes, if not our first
I think
episode,
it was our first, yeah.
We kind of went into it a bit with the whole mental health talk, and I think that kind of stuff is important. And I giggled earlier when you brought that up about on Twitch stream, because I actually bring that stuff up all the time when I'm streaming, and my chat's always like making stupid jokes about it or something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had your case of trolls too, Lindsay, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that I've struggled with a lot recently, because people just don't understand the full extent of the conversation you're having. And I think to have a medium where you can have two people sitting face to face to discuss it properly, I think that's why podcasts have done so well, is because listening to people have a conversation that's deep, interesting, they are educated in that space, is something that's we've been craving for a while, right? It's like when you're around friends who are really interesting, you just hear your friend chatting with another friend, and you can just sit there as a third person in the conversation and just absorb it. That's what podcasts are like, and hopefully people are experiencing that right now. But that's sort of the aim with all these podcasts, is to have a conversation that people want to listen to.
Yeah. I think that'd be a cool thing to do with the Shovel Pod one day, is have like a set. I don't think there's a single Pokemon TCG podcast out there. Like in the competitive sphere of all the other podcasters, I don't think anyone has like a set. A lot of the podcasts are just done through Discord or Riverside. They're not actually like on a set. Like I've listened to a lot of podcasts before. I've listened to the Nelk Boys podcast, Logan Paul's podcast plenty of times. There's a lot of podcasts that I listen to myself. They all have like big sets, like fancy sets, all the production, everything. So that'd be really cool one day to like kind of branch out and have the Shuffle Pod have like its own set one day. I don't know, that'd be kind of cool. I think the next time we see each other in person, Lindsay, we should definitely do that, is have like a sit down episode.
Make like a little bitty travel episode.
Yeah. Instead of just like talking face to face over like a computer, having like actual like in-person conversations, which is one of the deepest things in a podcast, is honestly that like in-person, face-to-face conversations that you do have. And I've listened to a ton of podcast episodes with like a ton of various amounts of people across the world, and you do kind of get a better general consensus of the topic when they're actually like in person talking to each other. So just wanted to kind of put that out there.
make sure you bring your dog as well for an in-person podcast.
Yeah.
Lindsay.
Oh,
You know,
he's the star of the show over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He really
Yeah,
is.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, down the line, I am hoping to get some people from the TCG. I want to get Joe on.
Right, yep.
So hopefully get him. I mean, this is a bit of a spoiler, a bit of a real. If it's going to be a little while off. It'll be early January, but hoping to get him for the 7th episode.
Okay.
As long as all things go through, he might have to pull out or something depending on travel and things like that. But the plan is to get him in at some point because I think he's a really interesting guy, and also just to talk about his collection as well. I think people have seen the collection boom with Logan Paul and everything. To then talk to someone who was a big collector before all that and how all of his collection has valued and everything, and his competitive time, his time as a commentator. As a content creator, you know, just everything he's done is a really interesting angle, and also just have someone represent the TCG community, because I can tell you now at Warsaw it was amazing to see how passionate and driven people were to enjoy their hobby without feeling like they deserve to be paid for it. You know, in esports, one of the biggest problems we have now is there's a lot of divas, a lot of people who are getting paid too much money to do what they do, and to see a load of people paying their way to go to events that they enjoy and to participate in a hobby. You know, they'd finish work on Friday and travel that evening to go to an event, and it was honestly it was very eye-opening and made me realize the esports scene has a lot to learn from communities like the Pokemon community, or same thing happens in the fighting game community. There's a lot of people very similar over there who are just very passionate people to just enjoy their hobby.
Yeah, that's one thing too. Like with the Pokemon trading card game, you're traveling all over the world, literally all over the world for these regionals. I know Zach Lesage, who's on our team, he went to Warsaw, and he's already going to LEIC, so he's traveling across.
Yeah, he's already
the
there.
pond.
I think he's been there for a few days.
Yeah, and that's just something that like definitely I'm trying to do personally myself. Next year I want to go to as many tournaments as I can, and I definitely got to go to Japan, and obviously I want to maybe travel to one of the European regionals next year, whatever their dates are. I would love to go visit London one day. Maybe one day I'll be a guest on your podcast. That'd be kind of sick.
Yeah. I mean, EUIC, that's been announced. It's in London, right?
I think
it's
so.
at the same location as Worlds was last year.
Yeah, because NEIC I think is in Ohio again.
Yeah. So, and then we got Liverpool coming up as well, which is in London. Not in London, in the UK. God, that made me sound very dumb if you're a British person. But yeah, we got Liverpool, which is in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of cool events to go to. I mean, when I met Zach, I was impressed the fact that someone would travel all that way from America,
Canada too. Like it's
from
really
Canada.
far.
Yeah. My bad. That's the class again. I'm sounding so bad right now with my geography.
Yeah, I'm not great at geography either, to be honest.
Well, I have a quick geography question for you, LDF. Do you know what country is underneath the city of Detroit?
I do not.
Canada.
Wait, what's a puppet?
A lake, I think.
Lake Ontario?
I don't know. Maybe I asked it wrong, but it's one of the. It's like where Detroit is.
Or does it kind of stick out into Canada or something?
It's something where like Jake like asked me. On my stream, he was just he was like, I don't know if you like, I don't know if you're gonna get this. Like, what country is like under Detroit or something like that? Because like right underneath it is a little bit of Canada, and then it's Lake Erie.
Oh,
it's like that part. If here's like the hand, it's like down here,
right? And
then like Canada's like right here, but then like Lake Erie's right here. So it like. Because Canada goes like this, right? Like around the glove.
Yeah. Okay. That I did not know that. Well, it's weird because I went through Detroit actually to get to Ohio for NEIC. We went through the Detroit border. So, yeah, that's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was weird when I looked it up on Google Maps just now, and London is right by it. And I was like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, what the heck?
Wait a second.
Yeah, London, Ontario. You got London, Ontario, and then you got London, England.
I think there's a London in America somewhere as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There probably is. Because you got me, I'm on the East Coast in Ontario by Toronto, and then you got you're obviously in London. And then you, Lindsay, you're at like the very bottom of the States.
I'm like southeast.
Yeah, you're in Atlanta, so we're all spread across the map pretty well, I would say.
Traveling for Pokemon is something that's definitely on my goal. I know I said earlier this year, that I was like, oh, I'm going to go like part-time Work, yeah, that's not happening anytime soon.
You don't think so?
That's not happening anytime soon. One, financially, not going to happen. Two, I actually really am really enjoying and loving my job, and I've been doing like really well lately, and kind of like moving up a little bit at my work. So I'm if I didn't love my job so much, then it would be a little bit different. But like as much as I love Pokemon, I think that like it's tough because like I do love both, but like I was definitely meant to like be a nurse, and I love the job that I'm at versus like a hobby of mine. But yeah. I'm really trying to make a balance. I'm trying to make a balance because I would love to do like half and half, where I can go travel to all these regionals and still work at my job. So I'm trying to find that balance.
Yeah, that'd be pretty important. Like as a content creator, I think it's important that I go to as many tournaments as I can. I was always like held back on that too for like financial reasons and just like space reasons and stuff. I was never really like big on that traveling aspect, but I think after really this like past year, I've really wanted to travel more. And my experience at NAIC, my experience at Baltimore was just so good, especially with the Shuffle Squad, like hanging out with everybody. Like it was so good that it's like, okay, I want to keep traveling. And like now that I do content full time, I can afford to travel as much as I can. And I think it's kind of important to do that as a content creator. And that's one of the best parts about Pokemon is even if you don't do well at a tournament, just sometimes traveling to all these different locations can be worth it. You get a trip out of it. It's not just, oh, I got top 8 at a tournament or I get like some cool thing on my resume. You actually get like the experience and you get to travel. It's like a vacation almost, so.
Yeah, you get to go see an aquarium in every city you visit.
Exactly, yeah. Do that
You give experiences to all your fans as well, because
that's one of my favorite. I forgot to mention that. Oh my god, that's one of my favorite things about going to these tournaments is meeting fans. Baltimore and NEIC was fantastic for that. Like I remember Lindsay, we were hanging out at the Shake Shack on the way back. I remember this. We were walking back to NEIC, back to the venue, and we had like a bunch of people coming up to me. Like I would talk to a fan, I'd walk like 10 steps, another person would come up to me and ask like for a picture.
I'm like, give me your phone, I'll take a picture.
Yeah. I remember that.
I was like, let me take the picture.
Yeah, it's crazy because you go into this environment where within a certain area, you're like a celebrity. And then when you go home, you're just normal again.
It's a weird feeling. It's weird though, because a couple weeks back, I actually ran into somebody at Walmart who was a fan of the channel. Like, usually I run into fans at my locals. Like, at locals, every time a new person comes in, they'll be like, wait, are you that guy from YouTube? I watch all your videos. You help me really get into the game and stuff. And when I went to Walmart, like a couple weeks back, and like somebody came up to me and asked if I was Little Dark Fury, and I'm like, what? Like in a Walmart of all places, like.
Are you ever like, no?
No, yeah, I'm not Little Dark. That's a different guy. But it's definitely weird.
Now that I've started casting, so I was at my local for the first time since I casted, and I had 2 or 3 people halfway through talking to them go, wait, I recognize your voice. Were you casting? Yeah. And it's like, you got a recognizable voice. And because I didn't know what I looked like, they must have just tuned in every now and again and heard the casting.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited now with the trading card game community just to have people come up and just talk, because I love talking about Pokemon cards. I love just talking about everything. And at Warsaw, I spent a lot of time with the judges because they're in the same hotel and just hanging out with them in the evenings and chatting about everything. And some of them I recognized from when I used to play up in the north of England. So yeah, it's just so cool to just talk with people about Pokemon cards, because on an everyday basis, it's really hard to do that, especially in person where you can see someone's energy and passion come out when they start talking about these things.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that is pretty important.
Yeah, the internet micro niche celebrity life.
Yeah. That's the life. One day one of us will make it big, like Logan Paul or KSI.
Honestly, you don't want to. So I'm unfortunate to have a few friends who are pretty famous in London, and just walking around London, like they genuinely don't want to walk around London now because
they get recognized so much.
Yeah, and we were at a bar once, and they were there with their girlfriend, and there was just 2 guys at the bar staring at them the whole time. And they just couldn't enjoy themselves because they just felt like they were being watched the whole time.
Yep.
And about 10 times throughout the night, someone came up and was like, hey, can we get a picture? And then, you're just having a normal night, you're just constantly feeling like you have to be on show. In particular for a lot of these people, they got to make sure they look good, right? So they're constantly having to make sure they're dressing nicely, that they're going out, they don't smell bad. You know how times I've been to the shop and I'm just wearing like trackies and like my hair's a bit greasy, and I'm just, I don't care if someone spots me in public, because at the end of the day, it's not the big thing. But if every single time I go out, someone might come up to me and be like, hey, can we get a picture? You don't
want to be looking bad. Yeah. Yeah, like when I was at the mall today, like I literally like didn't do my hair, like I didn't like comb it or anything. I'm wearing sweatpants right now. I went to the mall in like sweatpants and like a coat. Like I didn't really care, you know. And that's a good perspective to take on that. You kind of have to always kind of keep up appearances if you're like that famous, if you're going out. Yeah.
Yeah, and that same friend I was talking about, whenever they walk into their flat, they always sort of look around to see if there's anyone at that kind of demographic age to be like, oh, will they know who I am? Will they see me walk into my flat? Am I about to dox myself just by walking into my flat, you know?
Yeah.
The dangers of online privacy. That's something I always try to keep. Like I always keep a lot of my stuff private because like I don't want my personal info out there. Like obviously I'm not like that big of a YouTuber, but I still wouldn't want like a lot of my personal info out there. I try to keep my personal life as private as I can, just to like really I only share my personal life with like close friends. Like I don't really care about anything else. I just don't want to like people like to like know what I'm doing at all times or what I'm doing this or that. Like I don't have like a public Snapchat or anything or a public Instagram. I keep all that stuff to myself personally because I don't want like fans or subscribers like being weird and just it's weird.
Just don't be weird, guys. Let's just not be weird.
Don't be weird, exactly.
Moral of the podcast: don't be weird.
Don't be weird.
Yeah,
Don't be that kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying there about the like people sending weird messages. There's something recently that I've been trying to preach is people go into streams and care more about streamers than they care about people around them. If you ever go into a stream and you ask a streamer, "Hey, how you doing?" Just take a moment and think how many people who are your friends and family. How often do you ask them how they're doing? But we're so willing to go into a random person on the internet who doesn't know who we are, who doesn't think about us ever, and ask them how they're doing. So yeah, just every time you say, "Hey, how you doing?" to a streamer, just think, maybe I should ask my friends and family first.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said. I think
I do have this one guy whose username is just one random account. Shout out to just one random account. Comes into my stream every single stream, doesn't miss a single one, and says,
"Oh my God.
You're kind of cute today." I'm like, is that what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Kinda cute.
One day it's not going to say kinda and you're going to be like, "Oh my God."
I'm going to be like, "Ah!" Okay, no, but like it's not like you look cute or like you look kind of cute today. It's like you're kind of cute today. I was like, "What?" Anyways, irrelevant.
You get that too, LDF?
Not really, but I do
Samuel
have
Simku.
Simku. I was about to say yes. I have the infamous Samuel Simku, the best troll in the world. Oh,
I don't know if Mike has heard a Samuel Simku comment, so I gotta pull one up. I gotta pull one up.
Gotta pull one up. I think actually, I might have deleted them.
We need to start making like a screenshot collection.
You know what? Actually, I can go on Twitter here real quick. I actually have them saved as a draft,
you have a thread?
tweet. Yeah, here, hold on.
Do you pin them?
I don't think I do. No, I have them saved as a draft on Twitter because like there's just so many funny comments that I had to save them. I think I was gonna reply to like a Celios Network comment or something. Let me see.
I keep dropping my cards. I'm shuffling cards right now and I keep dropping them.
Yeah, I'm doing that too. I shuffle a lot.
Oh, you shuffle energies?
I just shuffle like random cards. I have energies in here, but I just have like random stuff in there.
Yeah, I just got a bunch of energies I shuffle.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some. He hasn't been around lately on you, has he?
He has not. No, I don't know what happened. He's been in my streams. He's actually been joining my streams and doing giveaways in the chat. And then every time the person would win, it would be the same account called Paco.
That's so weird.
Oh, it's hilarious. Like I love Sammy Simku. He's honestly part of like my actual like YouTube channel.
Oh, I found one.
Okay.
Wait, no, I can't read that one because he uses your real name. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, here, I'll send you a screenshot I have of one here. He uses my name, but not my last name or anything. So.
Yeah, he's basically like this YouTube troll who was like so fast to comment on like every single one of LDF's photos, and like he's done it with a few other YouTubers, content creators like Celios Network. Who else? I know he did it to a couple others.
I think,
but he's
Mahone. He used to do it too. Yeah.
But he's just like this little like YouTube internet troll.
So fun.
And
I'm gonna read. Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna read one of these comments here.
God.
He says, "Hey LDF," except he uses LDF's like real first name. "I give you $30 and this is in all caps. I give you $30 if you go doctor and you will show to everyone results." This emoji, the fingers up emoji. You are such a freak, I swear.
He just says like the most random stuff.
He just like in like this broken like English, just like
I was gonna say, where's he
craps all over people. Like
Mm-hmm.
he commented on this one of LDFs. He said, "You will never win some, never," in all caps. Stop play, PTCG Fury. You are freak.
The Slowbro costume one always gets me.
Yeah, he like commented saying that like, "I swear I see you walk around Toronto in Slowbro costume." like what?
Oh, that's why I got the Spider-Man costume for the Halloween episode we did, is because it's based off of a Samuel Simku comment where he's seen me like walking around as Spider-Man apparently.
Yeah, it's there's some funny ones. Like he's just he's full of surprises, isn't he?
He really is. He's like on and off, I find.
You always wonder how self-aware these people are, whether they just think they realize how funny they are, or whether they're like super serious.
Yeah.
And that's just the mystery of Mr. Simku that I don't think that we will ever understand.
No, we won't. We won't ever understand. But I think that's a good place to wrap up this episode. We ended off on some laughs. That's always good. So yeah, before you kind of wrap up, Mike, do you want to, platform's yours. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Any socials, anything like that?
So I created a Pokemon Twitter because I didn't want to spam my Rocket League Twitter with Pokemon stuff and the Pokemon community with Rocket League stuff.
Right.
So I am Mike Ellis PTCG for Twitter to get all things Pokemon. If you care about Rocket League, then just Gregan, GREGAN. But yeah, and shout out to Rule Zero. The community's amazing. Everyone's lovely. I'll see them tomorrow. They won't hear this before then, but I'll see them tomorrow every week. It's actually my birthday on the weekend, 26th. And we've got a winner box tournament, so I'm going to be playing Pokemon cards on my birthday, which is a dream.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
So,
that is living the dream right there.
And thank you to you guys. It was great. I met Zach at Warsaw and was like, I'd love to come on the podcast, and turned it around so quickly, and I'm so happy to be here, and it's been a pleasure meeting you both.
Yeah, honestly, a pleasure meeting you too. Hopefully one day, both of us can maybe be on your podcast one day. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Return the favor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully you get to come over to a European event, but you guys need to start traveling to all those American events, and then you can start looking elsewhere. Get out to all the events.
I'm saying, yeah. But thank you for hopping on. We had a great conversation about, all the stuff we just talked about. And I always like talking about all these extra things, you know what I'm saying?
We had a great conversation about everything we spoke about.
Well, I don't want to like...
I had a great time talking about those things that we discussed.
Okay.
Oh, we're just teasing.
I hope so. So we will catch you all next week with another episode of the Shuffle Pod. Peace.
The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen, make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at ptcgostore.com.
Poke Word, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at pokexword.com and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Check out the Late Night Series Season 6, brought to you by myself, Zach Lesage, and the Shuffle Squad. We're going to be running a bunch of sick events for the Pokemon community, and they start on August 30th. So one thing you might be noticing here is that there's an EU time and an NA time. We have one at 12 p.m. Eastern, which works out to about 5 p.m. in London. And then we have one at 7 p.m. Eastern, which should help out a lot of players on the West Coast play in this event. That being said, we still have a lot of cool things going on. Expect similar prizing that we've had for other late night series events. Expect better staffing, expect better tournament experiences, and of course we do have a stream going up for this season as well, and I will be streaming the event on Twitch. That being said, we have the whole season up on the Play Limitless website. Late Night 51 all the way through 70 runs until we hit the Invitational on November 5th. So check that out, sign up today, and support Zach Lesage Events and the Shuffle Squad. See you there.